Today, we'll take just a brief look at the learning brain. Now, if we think about a definition of brain-based learning, there are so many that's out there. There are a lot of theories that's out there. But just for what we're doing, we want to use the definition by Jensen. He says that the brain-based education involves the active engagement of purposeful strategies that are based on principles which are derived from neuroscience. Now, when learning follows a natural way that the brain is designed to learn, then brain-based education is taking place. There are 12 basic principles of brain learning. They include the idea that all learning is physiological. The brain is social. The search for meaning is innate. The search for meaning occurs through patterning, as in puzzle pieces. Emotions are critical to patterning, putting those puzzle pieces together. Learning involves both focused attention and peripheral perception. Learning always involves conscious and unconscious processes. The two memory organizers are autobiographical as well as rote. Learning is developmental. Complex learning is enhanced by challenge, but inhibited by threat. Each brain is uniquely organized. Now we want to take a brief look at multiple intelligences, just the overview. I'm sure you remember this from undergraduate, but also remember that there are some people who say we shouldn't call them multiple intelligences, but some refer to them simply as preferences. Well, in order to understand why Gardner called them multiple intelligences, we must understand what he was trying to do. The research that he performed was an attempt to help people to understand that people do not learn in one way, that there is just not one way that you can classify a person as being intelligent. Several intelligences are at work, not just one. And these intelligences can be at work all at the same time. Now, there are some neuroscientists or other people who will say that intelligence is the wrong word. When you use whatever word you want to use, but when we think about the fact that different types of learning is taking place at the same time, you can call it intelligences or preferences, but know that there's more than one thing going on at the same time. Intelligence is expressed in our performances, our products, our ideas, not just through a test score. You see, when years ago, the way that they determined your intelligence quotient, your IQ, is that they would give you a test. And how you performed on that test, well, that determined how intelligent you were, or so they thought. So what Gardner was doing was he was trying to say, no. It's not just about one test at one time. It needs to be about performances, products, ideas over a period of time. How the intelligences are expressed is culturally defined, and so culture needs to be brought into play as well, and that's not what was being considered during the time of this one-shot IQ testing. Now here's an overview of an adaptation of Gardner's multiple intelligence theory that was put up by Vitale. And you can look at this on your own time. It's just an overview. There are lots of charts that's out there. What I'd like to spend a few more minutes on, just so you can get an idea, is how these multiple intelligences or multiple preferences can be used in the Christian classroom in order to engage your students. This was adapted from The Religious Educator, 2010. So here's some ideas. For the linguistic intelligence idea or linguistic preference, whatever word you're using, students can write a case study in which they show how people in modern society could be in situations in which they are pressured to break the Ten Commandments. And then you go and read Daniel. Or logical mathematical intelligence. The teacher could write the following statements on the board: resist peer pressure, blessed for obedience, make a personal commitment to obey. And the students are invited to put the statements in order, and then go back and read Daniel 1, and then take a look at the order and why they were put in that order. Musical intelligence. Have the students sing the hymn, Dare to be a Daniel, and then read Daniel chapter 3, and then look at the different passages, comparing them to the different lines in the song. Then there's bodily kinesthetic. Now, we're not saying that the students only learn by using the body, but there are some students, especially your athletes, who benefit from getting some physical activity in the classroom. So try this one. Tell the students that for 30 seconds, they may act as if they've lost all their rational senses. This one's really fun to try to do in the Christian classroom. Then go and read Daniel chapter 8 and talk about Neb. Or you can look at spatial intelligence. And as you're slowly reading Daniel chapter 6 out loud, then the students will be drawing a picture. And then later on, you can show them a picture of a professional picture of what somebody did to show the story. Then there's interpersonal. Students are put into small groups and asked to come up with role-playing situations in which you're pressuring another person to violate the 10 Commandments. And then after that, then you have the groups then perform, 1, 2, or 3 of the groups then perform what they came up with. Then there's interpersonal intelligence. Ask the students to ponder a time when they refuse to give in to peer pressure. Have students mark the phrase purpose in his heart in their Bible, and invite them to think about decisions that they have purposed in their heart. Then for natural intelligence, you can ask students what they have observed when animals eat different types of food. Are some types of food better for animals than others? Use the experience that they've had with animals as a springboard to explain why Daniel and his friends refused to, eat the king's food. Now, again, these are just ideas. Think about what you could possibly do in your classroom. You could adapt some of these or come up with your own, depending on which chapter of the book you're dealing with or which character in the Bible that you're dealing with. William Glasser suggested that we learn, do you remember this, in undergrad? What do you think should go in those blanks? Well, here's what he suggested. Glasser suggested that we learn 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we both see and hear, 70% of what we discuss with others, 80% of what we experience personally, and of course, 95% of what we teach to someone else. Our students are just waiting for us to help them to hold the knowledge inside, experience, and teach it to others. Dr. Poole has said, brain cells continuously die, and they are not replaced, but memories last a lifetime. So let's go out there and develop some opportunities so that our students can make memories that last a lifetime with their knowledge for the Bible. Go forth and conquer.